Hello, all.
Hey, Chris.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this
I'm in
working?
the front.
Oh,
But my
let's
ears are
see.
stopped out.
Yes. Yes. Michael Davis, can you hear me back there?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi all, thank you for being here. Ian, like the hat. Let me see what time it is. I would like to call us to order at 3:05 p.m. And I already have a change to the agenda. And this is the first time I've had a change, so I'm not exactly sure if I'm gonna do this right, but Nancy will hold me accountable. So I guess what I need to do first is, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? No. Thank you. And a second? Thank you, Payne. What I would like to do is put first on the agenda, a big thank you to Dr. Finney Coleman and present him with something. So if you all will let me adjust the agenda in this way, I'd like to do it even before we improve the meeting minutes. Any discussion or help me, Finney?
Point of order?
Oh, point of order. I've never had to do a point of order before. That must be on page 152 of my Robert's rules.
Yes, the chair, suspend the orders of the meeting.
Okay, that's me.
Yes.
I would like to suspend the order for today.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can go ahead? Okay. Is there any, discussion or what's the negative word I'm looking for all?
You just have to. ask.
Objection? Oh, okay. Do I have unanimous consent?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all. So, those of you who know or maybe don't know, Dr. Finney Coleman was president of, is this on? Am I just talking at this thing for no reason?
I don't think it is for the people online.
Yeah.
Oh, is
mostly.
that why?
I can hear you though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Finney Coleman was president of the Faculty Senate, first president-elect, then president and past president. But you were president of Faculty Senate for how many years? Maybe, maybe at least 4. And always having Finney by my side. I didn't realize in the spring, or I forgot in the spring, that Finney was going to be cycling off. So I wanted to take advantage of us all being together today to present Finney something in order to show our thanks for his leadership for so many years of the Faculty Senate. And I want to thank Nancy and her team, specifically Gina Garcia, who responded to my 4 emails on how I wanted this thing designed. I wanted it exactly a certain way. So I hope you like it, Finney, or Gina's gonna kill me. And you have to open it and show it to everybody before you leave. So Dr. Finney Coleman, will you please come up? You won't even recognize him because he looks so relaxed.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your. I have to tell you, I ran for president-elect when I did because I wanted Finney to be my mentor in this process. So any hiccups I have nothing to do with this man. Sure, I can hold something.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful.
Ready? Oh, thank you so much. And I know Doris is waiting for you and I don't want to get her mad at that. So. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lee.
Alright. Oh, do you want this?
No.
Okay. I don't know, that's pretty fancy. Okay, but Finney, how do I go back to what I was doing?
Resume the order.
I'd like to resume the orders of the day. Thank you. Okay. So. Do we have no.
You already did that, we did the minutes next.
Okay, oh, okay, I can, okay. We'd like, next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Is there any, objection, additions? Submissions? No, okay, looks like unanimous approval, and so we'll move forward. And, I will pass it over to President Stokes, who amazingly, it looks like she hasn't been ill for the past 2-3 weeks. I think maybe she was playing hooky.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not gonna work. Good afternoon, everyone. I have not been playing hooky. I want you to know that 1 week ago today, I was in this room. It was configured differently. It was set up for the Legislative Finance Committee. And I am recovering from bacterial pneumonia. I did get my pneumonia vaccine last fall. So who knows what this would have looked like if I had not gotten my pneumonia vaccine. But I can tell you, for those who've had it before you, I know you immediately sympathized. And for those who've not had it before, you want to do everything in your power to avoid it. So what comes with it is, you know, once you get rid of it, you've got a cough that you can't control. I'm sure you've had something like that before. You're speaking to a group. Many of you are in front of classrooms. And then suddenly there is nothing you can do but double over and hold on to something and cough. So, you know, my job requires a lot of public speaking. And I have I have kind of begged off many of them. And I was getting ready for last week. Last week was homecoming, many of you realized. And I had a bunch of things I was supposed to be ready for. So I really tried to get well. And the first big speech was in front of the Legislative Finance Committee. And I did tell them, you know, I said, it's hard to know whether you ever admit these things, but I feel like it's kind of like carrying an umbrella when you think it's gonna rain. If you carry the umbrella, it's not going to rain. And I thought if I told everybody I might have a coughing fit, that maybe I wouldn't have one. But I got through to the last couple of sentences, and then I was able to pass it over to the next person, and then I left the room, but it turned out everybody in this room could hear what it sounded like out there. So this is my first time back speaking publicly, except in private meetings since last Tuesday. And I'm gonna keep it short, and we're gonna see how well this goes. Otherwise, I'll be just passing it over to James, and he's gotten kind of used to that lately. Anyway, I've got high hopes because I've got other speeches to give this week too. So the last time we were together, of course, we were all in little boxes on Zoom. But one of the things that came out last time we were together, was the announcement that I had appointed Mike Richards as our interim executive vice president for health sciences. And, you know, I will say to all of you today that I continue to give my thanks to Dr. Ziodonis and his leadership. He's done some wonderful things for our health sciences. You know, when it comes to leadership at this level, sometimes you realize a strategic pivot is in order for a lot of different reasons. And so I am grateful to Dr. Richards for his willingness to move forward. Many of you will be hearing about major initiatives that are largely based on the healthcare workforce. You'll start to hear about the need for a massive new project related to School of Medicine and a facility. And so, we will have our tomorrow's gathering is with leaders, some administrative leaders. But then there'll be 2 additional town halls related to these big initiatives. And so there'll be opportunities to learn a lot more about where we're headed related to the healthcare workforce. We all know there aren't enough healthcare providers in the state. We all know that we ourselves suffer from lack of access to healthcare. So can you imagine what it's like for those who don't have connections the way we do, of us, to get into a healthcare system? And so this is one of the major challenges facing New Mexico. And there are some things for which UNM is uniquely positioned to really serve the entire state. And this turns out to be one of them. Now, on a wholly different, I guess, track. Another change that's occurred that I believe probably was mentioned in the last meeting was that our athletic director, Eddie Nunez, took a position at the University of Houston. Congratulations to him. You know, big move for him. A lot of potential for success. And he's done for me, he was a great leader on my leadership team. Someone that really served the entire university and was never only working for athletics. When he was in Santa Fe, he was working for the University of New Mexico, and he was promoting all of our initiatives and not just those of athletics. And that's what I'm looking for in the next athletics director too. So we have hired a search firm, Parker Executive Search. They are kind of a gold standard across the country for athletic searches. They did help, they were involved in Eddie's hire in 2017, so some time ago. They were involved in Bronco Mendenhall's hire as the coach of our football team. And I got a chance to work with Daniel Parker when I was chair of the Mountain West Conference and had to do the commissioner search for the Mountain West Conference. And so I worked closely with Parker then. So he is the search firm person that we're using. Parker is in town meeting with various constituents related to athletics. Over the next couple of days, we'll officially launch that search really soon. Now, some of you don't pay any attention to athletics, and some of you, this is near and dear to you, and I understand that's what it means to be on a university campus. But I will tell you, university presidents get caught up in these things, and there are, internally, there are people who are really interested, and I will tell you externally, there are a lot of people who are interested and invested. And so, the AD search, everyone believes 2 things: that they really have potential to be an AD themselves if they have followed sports for very long. And I'm kind of kidding, okay? But in my career as a leader at other universities, I was stunned by the number of people who told me the next job they wanted was the athletics director job. And I'm like, you think you can go from this to that? Anyway, so I do, I have run into that. The other thing is everybody wants to be on the search committee. And I can't put everybody on the search committee. So we have a search committee made up of 3 donors, a student athlete, 2 faculty members, a coach, golf coach, and I think it's a search committee of 8. And they will be working with Daniel Parker, eventually bringing to me 3 or 4 people who could be finalists. And then I'll have that interesting process of deciding who our next athletic director will be. Now, we have a wonderful interim athletic director, Dave Williams. He's doing a great job. And now is probably a time when we need him very much. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't even talk about this. Who in here knows anything about what's going on in the Mountain West Conference? I see a couple of hands. Well, so how many of you in here know that the world of college athletics has been absolutely blown up over the last 2 years? Okay, you all know that. Mount West Conference was in pretty good shape. We had a stable number of people. You might remember that the Pac-12 exploded last unexpectedly, where suddenly only 2 schools were left, Washington State and Oregon State. We partnered with them to give them a schedule. We did everything we could to help them be successful. And we set up a contract to make it very expensive for them to decide to try to tear apart the Mountain West Conference. We thought we did a really good job of that until last Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So last Thursday morning, our 4 best football schools let us know that they in fact had decided to accept an invitation to join what I lovingly call the Pac-2. Anyway, and last night, it was discovered that perhaps Utah State would also be joining that group in the Pac-2. The Pac-2 also went after schools in the American Conference, the best football schools in the American Conference. So they went after Memphis, Tulane, University of South Florida, and University of Texas, San Antonio. Well, yesterday afternoon, those schools said, thanks, but no thanks, we're staying where we are. Which means that now they're desperate, and now they're trying to come back to the Mountain West and see what else they can do. So we have a school on the fence. The future of the Mountain West is uncertain. I cannot pretend that I know exactly where all of this is going to lead. I know many people don't really know the value of conferences. I will tell you, the value of them is really related to media rights. And what really drives this in terms of finances, and I've really said this since I've been here, but it's so hard for people to believe, it is football. Football drives the funding that comes from media companies and the contracts that they make, the agreements they have with athletic conferences. So I tell you this because this is, I don't even know how to tell you how much time this takes for a university president. And most people don't think about what that is. And some of you are thinking to yourselves, well, that's a whole lot of wasted time. Why don't we just get back to what we're really here for, which is our academic programming and our students. And I get that. I also know that when you ask across the state of New Mexico, you know, what do they know about the University of New Mexico? The first thing they know about us is our healthcare system. And the second thing they know about us is that we're the Lobos. And so there is a contingent of people and alumni for whom this matters deeply. And so that's why as a university president, I care and why I'm so involved as I have been. So more to come on that. I already told you that I presented to LFC in this room. It was one of the best meetings I think we've had with the Legislative Finance Committee. We were talking about some of our needs as an institution. James, because I had the coughing fit, had to sit in and answer the questions for me. And Mike Richards was answering the questions for health sciences. And they got grilled for more than 45 minutes. But it was one of the most positive interactions that we've had with the Legislative Finance Committee. And we're really working hard in government relations to promote the needs of our institution going forward. Our total enrollment is up. I think you probably already know that. We have a lot of transfer students. 58% of our transfer students do come from C&M. I'm going to let James talk about our new transfer center. And I think, you know, there have been a lot of other things going on. I have been looking at the basic needs survey of our faculty and staff. We are, you know, working to deal with the issues that we face as an institution for our faculty, staff, and students there. Just a reminder, we've got the GO bonds and the mill levy coming up in November. And you'll hear more about that, but those are really important projects for the institution. And so we hope that you'll think about us. And with that, I will stop and I guess questions, we usually do them after the provost talks. So if that's all right with everyone. Point of you know, what is that? Objective point of order.
Spend the business of the day.
Yeah.
Um, Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the time as always. Let me say just a little tiny bit more about enrollment. If you pay attention to the enrollment data that we produce, it's always, where are we compared to last year, right? And so let me tell you where we are compared to 2019. Because I think that's useful to hear. Actually, the total enrollment of the University of New Mexico, Albuquerque and the branches is down compared to 2019. The undergrad enrollment is down 2.4%. However, the undergrad enrollment in Albuquerque compared to 2019 is up 2%. That includes part-time students and full-time students. If we just look at Albuquerque full-time undergrads, we're up 5%. And so I share these to kind of remind us that as we look at these year-to-year numbers, sometimes it's hard to figure out what's the trend. And the trend overall is in Albuquerque, we're seeing modest, steady growth. Grad students roughly flat, but not going down. Undergrads going up. Across the whole system, it's a little bit of a different story because the branches saw significant enrollment decreases during the time of COVID, and that really hasn't fully. So and I just wanted to kind of share that to give you a picture of the trend. Again, in Albuquerque, it's up, but over the last 5 years at the branches, it's down. Wanted to say just a little bit about some of the things that we're doing that we think of as advancing New Mexico, and President Stokes mentioned the healthcare workforce expansion, so I won't talk about that. I do want to mention a few things from the grand challenges. Some of these things you've heard, but they're worth repeating. You may remember initially we had three grand challenges. Two of those were in substance use disorders and water. That's the successful aging. The substance use disorders and water grand challenges have been exceptionally successful. We invested a few $1 million in those programs early on. They brought in over $100 million of external research between substance use disorders and the water grand challenge. And again, one of the ideas of the grand challenge is they're focused on problems that matter to New Mexico. Out of the water grand challenge, many of you probably know we actually created the ARID Institute. It's a new Category 3 center. ARID is an acronym for Accelerating Resilience Innovations, Drylands. It's about taking the best ideas that exist on how to have successful human societies in dry places and accelerating the adoption of those ideas. We have 3 new grand challenges that are working forward. One focused on child health. They've had some good success in bringing in state and federal funds. Sustainable space research, they've launched a seminar series, a bunch of outreach, both to public outreach events and K-12 outreach events. If you saw 100 fifth graders from Gallup roaming around campus not that long ago, that's what we're here for. Space Day 2024, don't miss it, November 13th, being sponsored by the Sustainable Space Research Group. And then the third one is Just Transitions to Green Energy. And it's just really focused, really important for a significant part of our state. How do we make a transition from an economy based on extraction of fossil fuel and oil and gas to one that is based on green energy? And this team has been very active in engaging with governments in both New Mexico and Colorado, learning from some of the things. Colorado has a state agency on just transitions. So learning from some of the things there. And they're pursuing external funding at this point as well. We say a little bit about student experience and student success. So just a few things that are happening that some of you might want to attend. So on October 2nd, that's next week, Wednesday, 11 a.m., we're opening the new Lobo Welcome Center. The Welcome Center is where the Navy ROTC used to be, down Yale towards Lomas, just behind the President's house, if you like. It's an amazing new welcome center where parents and prospective students can come and start to learn about the University of New Mexico. In this building, on October 4th, we're opening the Lobo Oasis. This is a meditation space. It's a space students, staff, faculty can come to have a quiet space, come to pray, come to meditate, just come to get away from the hustle and bustle. Part of the wellness initiatives that we're pursuing. That's on this floor, actually. It's room 317. And there'll be an open house, formal opening for that again on the 4th between 1 and 4, program at 2. If you want to hear the speech about it. And then last thing I'll mention, President Stokes mentioned how many, so what is it, 43% of our new students are transfer students. Majority of those come from CNM, but they also come from our branches. Santa Fe Community College, come from all over. San Juan's another big feeder. Transfer students have special challenges. They didn't get a first year. They were never freshmen. They didn't get a sophomore year. They didn't get all of the experiences that start to tie them into the place, that tie them to the faculty and staff, that tie them to the culture of UNM. They never learned to be Lobos. It's not uncommon for transfer students to come in and see their GPAs drop. 14% of our transfer students drop out in the first term. Not at the end of the first term, just they never come back for a second term. 14%. That's compared to 9% of students who come in. Interestingly, if a transfer student is retained to their second term, they're more likely to graduate than those who started here as first year students. So really working with that transfer student population is critically important. And so towards the end of October, during National Transfer Student Week, we're opening a transfer and transition center that is focused on helping those students, helping their retention in that first term, helping them build social connection, become part of the community to let them be successful. Few big projects happening. So the Center for Collaborative Arts Technology, there'll be a groundbreaking for that scheduled for October 15th. So yes, you're going to see fences going up down there around parking lot A and people digging holes and all that good stuff. The big one happening is the Humanities and Social Science Complex. President Stokes mentioned the bond issue that will be on the ballot this fall. We're planning now for relocations. The plan is that relocations for folks from the humanities building will happen late fall and over break. And then demolition of that building will start in the spring. And that all assumes the bond passes. If the bond doesn't pass, we might do a little thinking. But again, the plan is first to take in that humanities building starting next year. We've developed swing space around campus, including in the old parish library. We've moved all the materials to the remote storage facility for the libraries. So again, humanities, social science, we're starting to see that happening. The plan, by the way, is first to replace the humanities building. And during that period of time, we will stabilize Ortega, continue to use it. But after the humanities building is replaced with a new facility, we'll take down Ortega and do the planning for what goes in that footprint. The last thing I want to talk about is just a little bit of a restructuring of the Office of the Provost itself. And so many of you know Bill Stanley, who's the Associate Provost for Faculty Success. His term ends in December, and he's decided to return to his department, political science, return to his scholarship and teaching. And so he'll be stepping out. And instead of simply replacing that position kind of as it is, his portfolio really overlaps the portfolios of Senior Vice Provost Rodriguez and Associate Provost Pamela Cheap. So we're going to kind of divvy that up a little bit. Pamela Cheap, who's currently titled Associate Provost for Student Success, will be retitled as Vice Provost for Student Success. Barbara will remain Senior Vice Provost. And we're going to create 2 new Assistant Provost positions, Assistant Vice Provost, under each of them. So one under Barbara Rodriguez and kind of that whole faculty affairs wing focused on faculty success. One under Pamela Cheap, focused on student success. This will do a couple of things. It'll give us a little more capacity, a little support for, you all know Barbara and Pamela. They do amazing work. They do way more work than humans should have to do. We want to give them a little bit more support. We want to create some opportunity for additional faculty colleagues to take on these kinds of roles and develop the skills that come from taking on those kinds of roles. And we also want to create some depth. If Pamela Cheek left tomorrow or Barbara left tomorrow, we go, I don't know what I think. I don't know what any of us would do. It could be that. So we want to create some depth in their organizations so that if in fact one of them were at some point, we know who we're going to be an interim. So that's the plan, and that'll be see a public announcement tomorrow and announcing that the folks can apply for those two assistant vice provost roles. And then finally, the last thing I want to mention is in 2019, the Faculty Senate Research Committee came to us in the provost office and advocated for the creation of an award for faculty really focused on research. And out of that, we created the Research and Creative Works Awards. It's been in place for a number of years now. What we do is at the time of promotion, we evaluate cases for promotion, of course, but then promotion and tenure. We also look at who's really standing out as an amazing scholar, an amazing researcher, an amazing creative force within our community. And so for the last several years, we've been making those awards. Formally this afternoon at the University House, we'll be recognizing promoted faculty, but we'll also be recognizing the Research and Creative Works Award winners. And so I just wanted to share with you who those folks were. There's 8 of them, so give me a minute to read 8 names. So Associate Professor Alicia Bolt from the College of Pharmacy, Associate Professor Julie Hinn, Department of Internal Medicine, Professor Andrew Susan, Department of Family and Community Medicine, Associate Professor Jeremy Hugavine, Psychology, Associate Professor Yu Sao, FC in the College of Education and Human Sciences, Professor Carmelo de los Santos in Music, Abdullah Muin in Computer Science, Vanessa Svihila in Organizational Information and Learning Sciences, or OILS. And so those are going to be the 8 Research and Creative Works Award winners recognized this afternoon. And let's give them a round of applause. And I'll say thank you, and the President and I are happy to stand or sit for questions. Or I'll sit, but we'll be answering questions.
I'm gonna, well, actually, Provost Holloway,
Yeah.
would you mind standing at,
Sure.
would you mind standing at the
Because of the people
podium
online.
because of the
Got it.
people online? And because of that, I'm gonna pretend I'm Phil Donahue, for those of you who are old enough to remember. May he rest in peace, or Oprah, but I can't pretend I'm that fabulous. So I'll come around and ask you to speak into the mic if you have a question, so the people online can hear us.
Is that me? I just didn't get it down fast enough. What were the details about the local Oasis thing?
So the opening of the local Oasis will be next Friday, the 4th. Let me grab my sheet of paper. Don't want to give incorrect times. Opening October 4th, kind of an open house from 1 to 4 with a program at 2. And it's 3017 of the South, which has been renamed Logo Oasis.
I had one quick.
I'm a little bit curious about the Mountain West. Do we know how many students actually come to us because of athletics? Because at most universities it's significant. So I was just curious if we know how many students we get because they come here to play sports.
We do get, I believe we have about 425, 450 student athletes that actually are here specifically to participate as Lobo Athletics across all of our sporting areas. When we survey people to find out why did they come to the University of New Mexico, you know, is an influence for some and has absolutely no impact for others. You know, I think that historically, basketball has been a draw and football less so for our student body, but you know, the history way, it really, it depends upon how much people are winning, how much our teams are winning. So, you know, it's I think athletics has been working for some time to integrate themselves more and more effectively as part of student life. And so it is a significant part of student life. That was something that was quite apparent on Saturday for homecoming. You know, so it waxes and wanes across sports, across the year. But I couldn't tell you, I know what you mean about it's a major draw for some. You know, I don't think most students actually know that much about conferences in general. So I don't know Mountain West, whether that would be a draw or not. Hope that answers the question.
It does.
I'll add this to that. There's who comes to the university because our athletics, there's also who stays. And so that creation of a community of students is it's endless research that shows creation of community and connection to the university is an important piece of student success, is an important piece of helping them over the hump when things get hard. And for some students, the athletics events themselves are a piece of that community. For many, it's not, but for some it is. And so there are a lot of these kind of separate influences that may play out here as all of this change happens. Other questions?
Thank you, Provost Holloway, President Stokes. You made it through the talking part, so good job.
Just like the last time in this room.
Thanks so much for your time and for being here and sharing information with us.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Faculty Senate President's Report. First, I wanted to welcome Teresa Sherman, the new administrator officer in the University Secretary's office. So we're so glad to have Teresa. And let me tell you, it was stiff competition for that position. So we're really excited that she said yes. Thank you, Teresa, for being here.
And Rick loves y'all so much, he couldn't stay away.
Yeah, we do miss you, Rick. Dr. Sue, you're so lucky to have Rick. And Rick, you're so lucky to have working with Dr. Sue. Next on my report, I wanted to tell you about a potential new Faculty Senate committee, the Social Justice Committee. I want to thank Justin Bendel. Justin, do you mind raising your hand? So Justin came to me suggesting this committee and shared with me the charge and the makeup of this committee as it looks at Northern Illinois University. And when I read the charge, I thought it was a great idea. And so I did talk to the operations committee about it, and what we decided is we're asking Justin and other interested parties to come together and talk about what a charge for this committee might look like and who might, make up this committee. Who do we want to make sure is represented on that committee? So any of you who are interested in helping to work on developing that committee, please reach out to Justin, and it's J Bendel, Bendell, UNM.edu. Greatly appreciate that. Then what happens is, once they have authored a charge and possible makeup of the committee, they will again present to ops, and then it will go out for a vote among larger faculty senate. The next item on my agenda, the provost beat me to it. Dr. Stephanie MacGyver and Greg Golden, at SHAC. They wanted you all to know about the Logo Wellbeing Program and to share that with students and faculty in your departments, schools, colleges. And so to share that out. They are also asking, SHAC is also asking that we as faculty encourage our students and those within our departments, schools, colleges to respond to the link for a survey that was sent out to students. The survey is a standardized benchmarking survey from the American College Health Association. And student participants will be entered into a drawing for a $50 gift card. So you know $50 goes a long way with students. So if you could just simply encourage them to complete the survey at the link that was sent out to them. The penultimate item on my list is to report back to you about FERPA training on Learning Central. I brought it up at our last meeting. I reached out to Senior Vice Provost Barbara Rodriguez, and she reported back to me that Associate Vice Provost Bill Stanley said that the FERPA training is required of all graduate students teaching graduate or research assistantships. However, it's unclear what mechanism is in place to ensure compliance. So Dr. Stanley will be looking into that and reporting back to Barbara. And Barbara said she has an upcoming meeting with Kevin Stevenson from HR, and she's going to talk to him about the logistics for putting FERPA training on Learning Central for faculty. And so again, I'll be reporting back to you about that. Also, I'm going to turn it over to President-elect Roberta Lavin. And then to John Burke. As part of I put a new item on our agenda, Faculty Senate Council report. So that you can hear from different people around campus. And I hope Roberta won't mind that I'm gonna pass out a small token of my appreciation for your service on Faculty Senate. And I want to thank Nancy for finding the money for me in order to be able to do this. So Roberta, if you don't mind, I'll pass this around while you're speaking.
Okay. As many of you may know, the Health Sciences Center Council actually is part of the Faculty Senate. So it's made up of faculty senators from the Health Sciences campus, and this is an and because a lot of the colleges didn't realize it, 2 representatives that the college elects that are not faculty senators. And we basically come together to discuss issues that are important to the Health Sciences Center. So a lot of what goes on in here is sometimes alien to us because it's so different over there. It's not just a street that divides us. But it's the whole concept of working 12 months versus 9. And clinical practice built into all of this and so forth. We're fortunate that Dr. Stewart usually comes to our meetings and shows up and gives us insight to things for administration, but there are things over the last few years that have somehow just disappeared. They disappeared with COVID, and so now we're trying to bring them back. For example, there used to be a policy committee within the HSC, and during COVID, it just went away. Part of it was people retired, and part of it was everybody got so busy that that was one of the little things that dropped. So those people will be reaching out to the main body policy committee to the HSC and trying to connect and figure out how to get this going again. And of course, there are other big things that we're interested in always. So the big thing we've been having people come and report to us is what happens to F&A? Where does it go? And who is the wizard behind the curtain with F&A? So, and what we found out is all departments seem to do it differently. And so that is one of the things we've been having deans come talk to us and tell us how they do that. And my husband, who used to be a philosophy professor at the University of Tennessee Big Football School, tells me that he was a philosophy major. There's no such thing was no such thing for them as F&A, and he also doesn't understand the concept of startup funds. So one of the he said, what do you mean startup funds? Anyway, so we're having people talk to us about what's equitable startup funds for people across campuses, because it seems like if you only touch bugs and things in the lab, you get a bunch of it. But if you actually want to take care of people and touch patients, you get a little bit of it. And that just seems backwards to me, but so be it. So we spend our time, yes, we spend our time talking about things like that and things that impact faculty. So this year, I'm the HSC Council Chair. Next year, Natalie is the HSC Council Chair. And so we hope to try to be telling you more of what we're doing on a regular basis so that we're more of one university rather than multiple, and maybe giving you some updates about how hard we're working to recruit new students so there's not such a healthcare shortage in the state of New Mexico, which I know is one of the big priorities for the university. So thank you, John. Where's John?
He's online.
Okay, it's yours, John.
Are we gonna be able to hear him? You said, okay, cool.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Welcome. My name's John Burke, and I'm a Branch Campus Senator, and I'm here to represent the Branch Community College Council. And we're made up of all the senators from the 4 branch campuses, many of which are in attendance today. And a couple of years ago, for some of the new senators, it was clear that there was an inequity in terms of workload across the 4 branch campuses. A resolution was brought forth from the Branch Community College Council to the Faculty Senate. It was approved by the Faculty Senate, and about a year later, which was at the end of March this last spring, a workload guideline for all branch campuses now treats all faculty at the branch campus equitably with a 15 credit hour total workload. That is for branch campus faculty. It often includes 12 credit hours of teaching and then service and scholarship. So just so you understand, this resolution was presented to the provost, and the branch campus chancellors and deans actually came up with an agreement that it would be all faculty be treated equitably across all 4 branch campuses. Just to give you an idea, some branch campuses were having faculty to do 15 credit hours a semester plus service and scholarship. So they were working much harder than some of the colleagues at the other campuses. So the Branch Community College Council's role is to bring branch campus issues for all campuses to the Faculty Senate. I just wanted to thank Chris Elder and all the senators for helping us make a difference for branch campus faculty. I know our numbers are small, but we want to be treated equitably across all the campuses. I'll be willing to answer any questions.
Any questions for John or Roberta? You're such an agreeable group. Thanks so much, John. Thank you, Roberta. Also, I want to mention to those of you online, and at the branches, I do have swag for you too, so I'll make sure it gets to you. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda, approval of curriculum items and faculty senate committee appointments. That was,
Chris, we have no curriculum items.
oh,
I'm sorry.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Sorry, just approval of faculty senate committee appointments that have been made thus far. The list was sent out to you previously in preparation for this meeting.
Please don't pull it up for us if you need it. The list-
Oh, okay, thanks. Do I have?
Sorry.
Nancy, do I need a motion on consent? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second? Thank you, Stevens. Any discussion? All those in favor, would you mind raising your hand? Any against? Abstentions? Okay, it looks like it's unanimous. Thank you. Next item, public comment, which I believe we don't have anyone signed up for public comment. So last on our agenda, this is both for faculty senators and any faculty who are present and want to be part of the discussion. So I emailed earlier this week a list of the priorities that senators discussed in the breakout rooms during our August meeting. I also, so you can feel free to access that document electronically, and I also have print copies. So if you, what I'd like to do now is give you time to take a look at those lists. You'll see that I have summarized the topics at the very beginning, and then I just copied and pasted from the reporter's emails because I wanted to be sure not to misrepresent anything that was reported to me. And also it'll give you an idea of how many groups discussed a particular topic, whether it was discussed within one group or across multiple groups. So the main task for you in these groups is please introduce yourselves to each other if you don't already know each other. That's part of the reason why we have you at roundtables. And two, feel free to access the faculty handbook, specifically section on the faculty senate, and discuss with people at your table which of these items you believe is under faculty senate purview and that you think we could make some headway on, and which ones you think should be at the top of our list, because I think there's something like 17 topics, which I think is awesome to have a conversation that was so engaging and brought up so many topics for discussion. But of course, we can't handle all 17 in one academic year. we'll put all of those on Roberta when she's faculty senate president next year. So I'll come around and pass those out. So please introduce yourself to your colleagues, read through those together and discuss which ones you think are under our purview and try to, circle which ones you think we should focus on this year. For those of you online, we're going to put you in 2 breakout rooms and please access the digital document that went out. Nancy, maybe you could email it out one more time. To put it in the agenda. So thank you. I just.
Sorry, I have a weird panic.
Yeah.
Oh, they all right here? Can we get it? Oh, and I did that. That's all right. I have one. I have it on here. Where do you want?
There.
Yes, yes.
I gave my. Yeah, very bad. But it's not really good. Are you good? How are you? I'm not really. Is it a personal pen? My son is in those. I saw that from somebody else. I'll turn it in. Yeah, there. Yeah. There's out there. Now, you know. It worked out right because they were, yeah, there's one from one group. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Too much pressure. Oh, I'm not.
Thank you for the, I did, I went around and got those.
Thank you.
Funny that. There's a.
So. Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fun.
So it was to introduce ourselves and then to.
Are
What's in the
you on
Senate?
time?
No, we're going over the agenda. What's in the Senate for you?
I'm sorry.
And what are the priorities? Like how to order these? Yeah.
It's like we, yeah. How do I upload this? You want me to read them all or just? Oh, no, I mean, I would forget, I know, whether, I mean.
We can't do anything. I'm just kidding.
So, yeah. What's the priority? Covered by the handbook. I know, but we're gonna need some stuff, not in our purview that.
That's pretty good.
Management would, that would. Right, handle or, what do you think that? Realistic. And then. If they drop out. It's so good.
I know, that's so
right.
So, hey, Ron.
For a lot of reasons, but So anyway, I just found about and we're back. And it's a in relation to so. We are back.
Thank you all for your engagement with these topics. We have a little more than half an hour. I'm getting better at scheduling conferences. We have a little bit more than half an hour to come together as a group. Thank you, those of you, I don't know where the camera is. Thank you, those of you online for the conversations you've been having. I'd like to go around to, well, let's start, if we can, let's start with the two groups online. If one person from each of your groups could report out, what are the top 2-3 items you identified as possible priorities? John.
All right, let me lower my hand. The couple things that were key that I think the faculty senate can work on directly is the orientation for new senators. I think sometimes senators are kind of dropped in to this role and may not fully understand it because most of them get elected in the spring. I think that's a good chance for the faculty senate. That's something we can control and work on. The 14, of course, for those of us who are remote, and 2 of the members of our room are from branch campuses, something that the Branch Community College Council can work on, but I think that's a great thing. And the other thing was more about the pay equity across all the campuses, recognizing that there's significant disparities at every campus, depending on discipline and a few other market forces that are out there.
Great, thank you, John. Michael, were you in a different group?
I dropped my pen. I went too fast. How is everybody doing? No, a different room. Yes. So again, seem to be with branch folks here. Very nice to meet them. If I can start from there.
Sure.
In our virtual room, it seemed like the branch people were not very clear what was meant by. Sorry for the passive voice. I'm trying to be discreet. What was meant by branch support and, well, obvious things, but that brings up to me something that was discussed in our group, which is a lot of these points seem to be, well, on purpose, of course, or the summary somewhat vague or somewhat not as directly actionable. So I'm going to bring that up as a point that our group felt that refining further and understanding better what is our responsibility or purview as senators and what do we really have, right? What is our domain over and what can we really have impact on? So that's kind of like a meta, bro. I don't want to be like, it's a good thing, including even the orientation that John just mentioned. I think that's maybe an actionable item here, is to clarify for all of ourselves, what is it really that the kinds of domains that we can have impact on. And otherwise, point number 1, student success, clearly could be put into an academic setting that seemed to be Senate prone. But again, we would need to try to be more specific, more clear. And that's where our discussion centered mostly.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
Michael. Also too, just so you all know, related to student success, one of the things we talked about with, this group in the back, is like, for example, the 5-5 load for students. That's gonna take faculty going to the legislature. Because, you know, that's a mix of scholarship, you know, how scholarships are dealt out, that kind of thing. That's not necessarily something that UNM decides on its own. So that would take going to Santa Fe, which we can do. Just people have to be willing to do it. Also, you might remember this is one we discussed last year. And I only heard back from a couple of senators who wanted to be involved in the Committee for Student Success. I did get more participation from other faculty who are not senators, and I sent that list to Pamela Cheek. So if you would like to be included in that group, just, you know, let me know and I can forward your name, or you can reach out to Pamela Cheek directly. And I'm also participating on that committee, just to make sure we have faculty senate participation and the administration doesn't necessarily take over that ad hoc committee, right? Okay, how about, Liz, how about your group?
Sure.
Hey, everybody. We talked, also about the 5-5 load, which I didn't realize was such a heavy lift. And about a couple of other items, compensation and pay equity, which we support. And talked a little bit about the jurisdiction of the faculty senate with respect to compensation, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it's pretty low. Right? But that the work of the faculty union to renegotiate the CPA and work towards pay equity may be something for which we could offer a Senate resolution if we want to support pay equity through the CPA. And we talked about something we could probably make low priority, but was an information item, the HSC conflict of interest process, which is going to run right into the emerging university level policy on conflict of interest, which is right now sitting at the university council's office. So there will be an opportunity for that to be addressed and go out for campus comment, which would be a great time for the Senate to participate in that and address especially the concerns that came up in the recent health sciences transition. Campus safety, as always, we thought should be high priority for faculty, for staff, especially for evening hours. And then we also support the orientation to the faculty senate, and I would add to faculty governance. And I have some slides for that if you want.
Yes.
Did I get it all?
Yes, I do want. So Liz, we'll put you on the agenda for those slides. Also, I just want to mention that, I think it was last week for the campus safety conference at UNM. And I reached out to one of the presenters and asked them if they could come and talk to us about what's being done to improve campus safety. Another group? You guys are like students, you're all like.
Let us go.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody's sitting in the back, everybody's looking down, everybody's on their side.
I think we focused only on a couple of the issues. One was item 3, and part of it was, there was a great feeling, at least among a couple of the members, that there were needs for faculty and no slots. Okay, so the hiring has been tight, and some departments are really suffering. My own view was a little, I mean, yes, I totally agree with it. I think there's also the workload. In my department, to get the highest rating it's at least an 80-hour-a-week job. I'm sorry, if you're not 80 hours a week, you're not number one.
Within your department?
Yeah, in my department, it's, maybe in others, it's an 80-hour-a-week job. Most people think of it as slave labor. That's routine in many departments here to get, your top feedback. It's 80 hours a week. I think the other item was number 12, basic needs. Many departments are finding there aren't enough TAs. As an example, I mean, there may be other needs, but you have classes, how do you manage to, do grading, do whatever? So I think generally basic needs of faculty, item 12, and number 3. Basically, hiring and retention, a really big issue.
Yes, Dora has some.
Oh, perfect.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, we are talking. HSC again, hiring, changing leadership, and also the new influence. System that's being implemented, basically it's something you download on your phone and we are told we just access certain things which are work related. There's a lot of mistrust in the faculty, but that's not correct. I have colleagues who lost their contacts. I have colleagues who lost their pictures. And it just doesn't feel right to be a push on faculty to install something on their personal phone that gives access to some remote person to all the phone. So our thing was like, well, if we are required to do faculty related business, check my email, check my patient charts on my personal device, we should be provided with phones that don't come out our salary. But it just seems there is a lot of mistrust and things that we are told, oh, it's not going to happen, happens. So I didn't happen to leave out. I would be very unhappy to lose all my contacts, which took 30 years to build, or to lose pictures of my family. I mean, what's the price for a baby photo? So it just seems like there is there has to be solutions before we are told you have to do this. Those are basic needs. So take chance, right? So essentially, students are always feel
But like you said, so the people online can hear you.
What I want to say that when we take flight, we are given lecture what to do first. Protect first yourself and then everybody around you, right? Not another way. So student success will not come from one side, from miserable faculty. And this is faculty senate, so the faculty senate should first enforce that our needs are met. And then we can help to everybody else, not to pretend that we are rich with everything, and then we generously donate time and more energy around. If we don't have time and no energy, we can do and give nothing. So students will not be happy if we will not improve our life, including safety concerns. I think this is absolutely abnormal to demand from us to provide our personal devices for any work-related reasons. University should provide such devices based on turn off phones, assuming that we should communicate on our mobile phones, while our mobile phones are not paid by university. But it's just one of the examples. So we have to clarify this question and focus on our own skills, not personal own, but faculty needs, because many questions here overlap with essentially basic needs, and it includes equal payment and things like that they fall in one category. Basic needs of faculty.
Another group?
I got designated. All right, so we've broken down, and correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, to maybe 4 categories. One category is looking at sort of as a package deal, questions of compensation, pay, equity, retention, hiring, recruitment, benefits. It all sort of works all together. Making positions attractive to outside applicants, but also making things more equitable on the inside. Another thing we talked about was consistency across departments, colleges, campuses regarding workload policy, and other factors that need to be consistent. Even that is orientation for new senators. Next spring doesn't have to be a lot, but something. And then campus safety, of course, is just something that we should have in mind too. That's it.
That's all.
Actually, Can we just do that?
Thank you, Justin.
So, hi, I'm Santi Lit. I'm happy to see there's a lot of consistency, in terms of the reporting, and we are just here to, our group is gonna emphasize that consistency, the priorities we have as well, where, we also saw as a package deal, as Justin described it, compensation, pay equity, retention, benefits, basic needs, they all kind of go together, and they're all priorities that we should be fighting for. I really liked what I heard from Liz about the idea of potentially bringing in, the faculty union negotiations and supporting those efforts, with a resolution from our Senate in doing so, because we need all the power that we can get, in order to make change. So that would be something that I would be strongly in favor of. We also noted, dilapidating infrastructure and campus safety as big issues that affect, student success, faculty success. We're all having to deal with, very poor building conditions, poor custodial conditions in terms of like just not enough support. We've been cleaning up of rooms where we have like lots of students in our buildings, and it's just not a clean and safe place for them right now, honestly. That doesn't feel very good for any of us. Those are really the issues that our group spoke the most about and wanted to highlight. Thanks.
Thanks, Sophia. Now we would like to report for.
Thanks. So we agreed with a lot of what people have been saying. One of the priorities that I don't think anyone's mentioned that seems like something that's we could address as faculty senate is 11, the orientation to the faculty senate for new senators. A lot of us have a sense of diving into the deep end and learning how to swim. So it seems like some basic explanation would be great to add. Back on point 1, it seems like that was the top priority or one of them. The beginning of last year, the idea of getting the student teaching load down from 5.5 to 4.4 in solidarity with the branch campus faculty, for example. And we could do that by, if we can convince them to extend the lottery scholarship from 4 years to 5 years without having to rejigger all the units for every class and the number of classes per major and all that.
For students, right?
Yeah, for students. And so if we could get the support up in Santa Fe for extending the lottery scholarship for 5 years, I think that'd be great. I know Michelle William Christian's run nationally on this idea of she made college free for everybody, but it seems like that's actually largely dependent on the lottery scholarship, which is a regressive scholarship that's basically got, fiscal fortune taking money from the poor to pay for poor people to go to college. So it'd be better if we actually had a less aggressive tax that was funding the student success at UNM, and then we can at least extend it a year with that. So it seems like there are things we could do on that, and we also strongly agree with the bit about retention, hiring, and recruitment, especially on North Campus, where it's been, as a lot of people have mentioned, it's affected all of our lives as not having the medical support we need, and so medical faculty not having the people even to cover the existing positions, let alone fill the new hospital. Thanks.
And you know, Ian built it and they will come.
Just doing.
So we talked about the same, the echo level. But one thing we talked about that was, because we're mixing North and South Campus at this table, is we talked about 15, lack of we start divide off to be North and South Campus. So we talked about how a lot of times that like trying to bridge that could have very negative consequences. There's good reasons why IT can be separate, for instance. And it creates a lot of annoyances for people like who are constantly crossing the campus, but there's some things that need to be kept separate. But in other ways, there's a lack of interdisciplinarity, lack of community bridging between campuses. And we didn't come with any concrete ideas, but you know, it's gonna be a balance between things that would be cheap, you know, but and community building exercises, but would contingent upon the time when people were already stretched very thin. That's something that would have to be kept in mind, but perhaps something that is.
And when you say keeping IT separate, I mean, I'm assuming for HIPAA reasons, for privacy reasons, et cetera, do you include email?
Security standards on South Campus. So speaking from personal experience, the South Campus person, security standards on South Campus are probably too lax for the kind of attacks that North Campus faces, the kind of security threats North Campus faces. And in talking about what they have to deal with in order to maintain the kind of security standards, I don't want to have to deal with that, you know, and they don't want to come down to our standards. And so there would be serious consequences for everyone if we try to unify even, you know, I think on campus. So to some extent, things like that, or IRB also, there's a good reason to have separate IRBs. So, but then you have to finish your stuff. That could be unified. That's interesting.
Yeah, we just had our main library on main campus act, right? Yeah. Did we get everybody? Okay, so next steps. What I plan to do is put your top priorities into a survey. And what I'll ask you to do is identify if you're willing to work with a group of your colleagues on one of those items. You don't necessarily have to chair it. I'll ask you if you want to chair it, but also too, I think we should broaden out to, you know, beyond faculty senate and get help from our faculty colleagues who aren't necessarily senators. So, once we've identified faculty senators who want to be involved with the topic, we could also reach out to faculty beyond the Senate in order to help us do that work. Okay, so I'll get that out to you before our October meeting. As always, send me any questions. Oh, by the way, I did want to let you know, I shared this document with President Stokes, so she knows what's on our minds. And I will also send it to Provost Holloway. And then I forgot what I was going to say next. So I'll get those out to you. And I'm giving you back a whole 11 minutes of your time. Reach out to me if you have questions for President Stokes or Provost Holloway that you'd like me to address at my next meeting with them. Okay, thanks all for being here. Appreciate it.
There's no objections. Adjourn if there's no objections.
Oh, sorry. Can I get a movement to adjourn? Somebody moved. Second. All in favor? Unanimous.
Yeah.